back in the day, it used to like be one event would have one DJ.
Right.
Now you go to an event, it's like they got 6, 7 DJs on the bill.
Right, for a
You know what
2-hour
I'm saying?
party. All right, guys, thanks for joining us on the Elation podcast today, where we enjoy exhilarating euphoria through creation and collaboration. Today, we are with the famous Raj Smoove.
What's happening? How you doing?
Good. How you doing, bud?
I'm doing great. I like that little intro.
You like that, huh?
Yeah, euphoria.
Thank you, man. Yeah, it's how I describe elation, exhilarating euphoria.
Mm-hmm.
And but I mean, creation is how we all should find happiness, right?
I mean, it's definitely a way of expressing your happiness.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel the same way. But so let's get into your story, man.
Yeah.
Like, tell everybody where you're from, where you grew up. There's always what high school you went to down here, not college.
From New Orleans, Louisiana. Grew up in the East, Kenilworth, Georgetown. Also Gentilly Woods. Went to Livingston Middle School, McDonald 35 for high school, Dillard University for college. I got to represent for DU.
Okay.
So, yeah.
You're full New Orleans all the way in and out.
I'm a son of the city. I could have left for school, for college, but, my roots here go real deep, you know what I'm saying? And like, I started doing this so young, like I already kind of had my crew already. And, everybody else couldn't have went out of town for school. And if they did, they might have went other places. So because I wanted to be successful in music and, I was trying to do it with my people, I opted to stay in the city and with the Dillard, was lucky enough to have a full scholarship over there. So, it worked out, I think.
So you were doing music early then?
Oh, yeah. I was born into a musical household. Like my dad is a composer and a pianist and a teacher, you know what I'm saying? So he always had like students at the house come and take piano lessons and theory, and other type of stuff like that. So, as long back as I can remember, like he would always tell the story of Terrence Blanchard, coming through for lessons, and I came out with my little oatmeal boxes, was like my little drum set at the time. They used to come like in a little round, kind of like little drum boxes. And, him asking Terrence to, play a little song with me. So, Terrence playing.
That's crazy.
And I'm beating on my little oatmeal boxes playing drums. So
that's crazy.
My dad probably would have preferred me at the time to go into a little bit more of the traditional
music scene.
Disciplines. You know what I'm saying? Like, I took piano and, I took drums for like, I don't know, 2 weeks. But hip hop was the sound of my generation,
right?
And I was always kind of like very intrigued by the technical part of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Just like how everything hooks up, and just the technology was always kind of like cool to me. So that's
it was kind of there was like a lot of new technology too then, right? It was keyboards and it was they were cutting things from the,
even at the time, like a lot of that was way above my pay grade.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I had been to, some studios like C. Saint, Alan Toussaint studio, and, seeing the consoles and the live rooms and all of that. So, I had some familiarity with that. But what I was able to get my hands on personally was like, when I got my first like component system, for Christmas, which, for those are, people listening that are a little bit younger who don't understand a component stereo system where, you had like the amplifier with the radio built in, and then like the tape player was separate, and you had a separate record player, and you could build out whatever it was that you wanted for it.
Yeah.
But, like getting that and, just being able to look at it and figure out how everything hooked up together, that was really kind of like dope for me.
I got you.
Yeah.
Well, so, all right. So you knew music-wise, that's what you wanted to do going into college. What did you go to college for?
So actually, like I knew that going into high school, because like junior high school, and it's funny, I was a big video game head back in, Nintendo days and all of that. And I assume it's some of the kids from the neighborhood who had been to my house decided it was a good idea to break into my house and steal my Nintendo and all of my video game cartridges, right? So luckily, my parents had insurance. on the apartment. So I ended up, when we got the money for it, I ended up getting like a DJ mixer and some other like little equipment to kind of like start my DJing journey. This was like eighth grade. So by the time
Gotcha.
I was in high school, like I was already fooling around, like working on my scratches and all that type of stuff like that. So by the time I got to Dillard, I was already like, full blown in it. We had, made some uh songs, or what we consider to be songs.
Right,
You know what
right,
I'm saying? Without
right,
our very limited means.
right.
Um, so
Well, but you turned and there's a message in there. You turned a negative into a positive.
oh yeah, I
You
mean,
turned something by breaking into your house into the creation of a career.
yeah, I mean the show don't stop. Like you always have to be able to pivot, and I think that's been one
Absolutely.
of the major through lines of my career, being able to pivot, through whatever may happen, what I'm saying, whether it was, COVID, Katrina, that situation. Um, being able to keep the momentum going and not lose any steam. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So by the time, I got out of high school and got to Dillard, I decided to major in like mass comm, and I minored in business because I figured if the hip hop thing ain't work out, I could go work on a radio station somewhere.
Right.
Um, you know, and it was, I also tell people a lot that I learned how to DJ in college because, again, like I understood like the technical stuff with, blending records and scratching, but understanding how to uh communicate musically with a diverse group of people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
How
And
to
rock a
how to talk
crowd,
to the crowd.
because
Yeah.
Dillard has a lot of students that were, from out of state. So, we have people from the West Coast, people from the East Coast, Florida. The first time I heard 3 6 Mafia was, on a cassette tape, and my homie's Pathfinder, who was from Memphis.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? This was
Right.
like the old, like tear the club up, like
Right.
all the hits in
Right.
it,
Right. Right. Right.
the non-studio version.
Uh-huh.
So, I remember the first time hearing like Chicago house and juke music, just sitting out on the yard. Everybody's out there, talking, playing what it is, that they like to listen to. So it gave me very fertile ground to kind of like experiment and figure out how to rock a party.
Right.
So
Very important.
yeah,
How to read the room.
it's a skill that's lacking, and sometimes people don't talk about that, and it works across, multiple disciplines. Like it's not just DJing, like understanding how to read a room and
Oh yeah.
and uh understand people's motivations and what it is they're going through, and kind of get everybody onto one accord. Is That's a talent in and of
Oh,
itself.
100%. Well, we all lost it when we got the phone. We all
Yeah,
lost that
yeah,
connectability when we got to the phone,
yeah.
and the phone became more than a phone, and I feel like we lost that ability to read a room. I grew up in, a couple different versions of my life. I had, different things going on, but like
Hmm.
in my grandfather's mentorship to me was more on the business side. And that was one of the first things he taught me is, how to walk into a room, read the room, know who to talk to, know how to connect to people, from the
Hmm.
valet guy that lets you in the door to the guy who's throwing your beer away that you just finished to the guy who's running the party, and you got to talk to all of
It's
them.
all relationships.
100%.
Yeah.
But DJs have to view how the crowd's moving. Okay, they're not really dancing to that song that well. I'm gonna switch it up right now.
Hmm.
Like you got to pay attention. It's not a playlist.
Well, I mean, technology has kind of bridged that gap where you have folks, the bar to getting into DJing is way lower now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like if you have a computer, or if you have any type of device, you can kind of put like a little playlist together and feel like you're
Yeah.
a DJ now. You know
Yeah.
what I'm
Hundred
saying? Like I
percent.
have, sometimes it's in conversation with folks. They're like, yeah, we be hanging out at the crib, and I'll DJ at the crib, but that DJing is putting together like a playlist.
Right.
So, you know, we could split hairs and get into terms about like, who's the actual DJ and all of that other type of stuff. But I think overall, being able to kind of transcend the technology, because that's always going to change,
Right.
but being able to kind of have that core skill set of building and maintaining those relationships, whether it's long-term relationships or it's just in the moment, being able to connect people. if you have that, you can find success in whatever it is you do.
Agreed. But you also have to know the music too, because
That helps.
if you don't love the music that you're playing, you know, even if you don't love the song, you still have to love music overall in an overall perspective. Like,
Yeah.
you know, what it does to people, what it made it, like what room was this going to work in, and you know, this was a big song in that era. I'm gonna play this. You know, like those type of things that you got to know music.
Yeah, it helps.
Well,
It definitely helps.
do you think growing up and I'm so I'll be 40 in April. I don't I don't know how
48.
so in a similar era, I guess you could say. I mean, when I went and got a cassette tape or a CD, the first thing I did was sit down and listen to the whole thing with no distractions. You learn the artist, you learn the little innuendos, you learn the little skits, you read the book, you understand that art from a fan's perspective. I understand that artist. What is lacking to connect the DJs to the artists in today's technology, you think?
Connecting the DJs to the artists,
because that was what connected to me, was the art itself. What because I don't feel like the love of music is there for that connection. So I guess that's why my question.
I think it's a very nuanced conversation, because the way that we consume media overall has changed.
Right.
You know, people had a lot more time on their hand. Things were not as fast paced. You know, we used to have to wait a week to find out what happened to our favorite characters in the next episode of whatever show it was that we happened to be watching. We couldn't binge watch, you know, a whole season of whatever it is that we're interested in. So the environment that we used to have to put ourselves in order to consume the music.
Yeah, because we had to take time just to go find what music we wanted. We had to go to the store, put on headphones, and listen,
had to sit down somewhere
and listen in the different bays and figure out what I'm taking home.
But even, you know, like that's even way farther down the line. Like I'm talking about, like I had a component system, so I couldn't take that with me. If I wanted to listen to a Run DMC album or Eric B. and Rakim, I had to put the record on and I had to sit in the room and pay attention, because, you know, I couldn't go anywhere. Now, if I got my AirPods in, I can be at dinner, I can be picking my kids up from school, I can be, you know, waiting to do an interview and catch up or listen to whatever little bite-sized piece of whatever it is that entertains me at the moment, and just pop it in. So, you know, our attention span has kind of changed. You know what I'm saying? Like we have to be able to digest quick little hits of stuff.
But to me, that ruins the love of it.
It definitely messes up being able to have a
moment of time,
a deeper connection. And I can, you know, when talking about like DJing events, I prefer longer format parties. You know what I'm saying? To where I have a crowd for like, you know, 3 to 4, you know, even 5 hours, where we can really go on a journey together and touch all of these different things, leave no stone unturned, and connect and communicate through this music that's going on in our surroundings right now. Unfortunately, because, you know, just of the trend of everything being more bite-sized, you know, back in the day, it used to like be one event would have one DJ. Now you go to an event, it's like they got 6, 7 DJs on the bill.
For a 2-hour party.
Where, you know what I'm saying? Like everybody might have a 30-minute set or a 45-minute set. And it's hard to really develop. It's like you're speed dating. Like you can't really develop a rapport with your audience and really get a good groove going, not to mention what are the other DJs gonna play. You know what I'm saying? Like even when they first, you know, the concept of a guest DJ coming in on an established night, and the guest DJ would come in for a 30 to 45-minute set and play all of the hit songs that are out right now. You know, in very short segments, you know what I'm saying? Whereas like, you know, they just gonna play the intro and the first hook of a song, and then they're just gonna
And
cut it
they
off. It's
blend it
kind of
out,
like,
right.
let me take a bite out of this sandwich and I'm gonna just throw it away,
Right.
and then take a bite of the turkey leg and throw it
Right.
away, and you leave all this food on the table where you don't really get to evolve uh the party. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
100%.
So for DJs who have had to, you have to DJ differently in those environments
Right.
because you only have a short amount of time
Well,
to make an
there
impact.
is no climax. Everything's a climax.
Everything is
Everything
just
is high, high, high,
balls to
high,
the
high, 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 high.
wall.
Right.
We got to go in like, when I'm DJing for like, for the Pels or for the Saints or, these larger events where it's like, all right, Raj, we're going to come to you, to do something. I have like 20 seconds to drop something that's easily recognizable by
Right.
80% of the crowd, that's high energy, that's going to make people be like, oh man, you were rolling, but I didn't really get a chance to do anything. Like
Right. Right.
I may have, I played the right song at the right time,
Right.
which is a very big part of DJing. But, there's a deeper connection and experience that can be had when you really have people's attention span for a longer period of time. And we have kind of lost that with people's attention being drawn to
Right.
the
Well, there's
phones
an
and all the
intro,
other
there's a
stuff.
body, and there's a conclusion, like
Yeah.
mixtapes used to have.
Yeah.
There was a story told in those mixtapes.
On albums. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like having a concept album. Like I was
Right.
just listening to a little podcast earlier, and they were talking about De La Soul. And like, like their first album, and when folks used to have like skits, and you
Yeah.
really there's a albums were treated like movies.
Yeah.
And thought was put into, well, let me put this song behind this song because I want to kind of take the person's mentality going this way. And, now we're going to put this record in here kind of as a palate cleanser to get ready for the next part of the project. Right. And a lot of that is, now it's just, we're going to throw all of this stuff out there because people aren't going to listen to it in order anyway.
Right.
They just going to stream it how they want to stream
Right.
it. And whatever the numbers go up on, that's what's going to end up getting the most attention. And, the whole album will end up getting reordered anyway. Right. By what's the hottest tracks on the album.
Right. Well, it's funny. Some of the things I repeat most in my life are the damn Big Timers intros.
Yo, there was so much comedy and entertainment, like ad-libs. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. On songs, like being like the most memorable parts of stuff. But again, because, people have I don't want to say people, the powers that be, whoever they might be, the analogous, that's not a word, the anonymous, corporate entity that is just running behind the numbers, don't really care about all of that experience. It's like, what can we do to capture your attention for this short amount of time and make an impression? If it starts getting too intellectual, if it starts getting a little bit too artsy, we don't have time for that because we got to drive these numbers. We got to drive this engagement. And the whole idea and concept of advertising has been distilled down to this super potent drop that everything has to conform to this right now.
Right.
It's
a formula.
And if you don't conform to this right now, then you're not going to get as much of attention. There was a conversation being had about, like, in the 90s, like the mid-tier artists in the 90s who weren't like, top of the billboards all the time, but were super big and were getting sponsors, like Busta Rhymes. Like Busta Rhymes has been amazing through his whole career, but he wasn't like on like the Jay-Z level of stuff at the time. You know what I'm saying? But he had like Mountain Dew commercials, and he was all over the place. And
100%.
like, he's always been a force to be reckoned with, and like one of the greatest artists ever. But had he come about in this day and age where everything is so, analytically driven, if you don't have a certain amount of numbers, you don't get bumped up to the next tier for you even to potentially be able to attract that super large fan base to begin top tier.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like everything has to be a rocket in a bottle, or it's just gonna fall by the wayside.
That's because we only get paid for 45 seconds.
Yo, it's bananas.
Right? I mean, and it's just it almost ruins creativity to think, man, if I do a 4 or 5 minute track because I feel like I want to do a 4 or 5 minute track, I'm only getting paid for 45 seconds of it. Why am I gonna do a 5 minute track? And I just feel like it ruins a little bit of the creativity, man. Like
and also too, like I don't want to get trapped into the narrative of there is not great art out there, because there is.
There
You know what I'm saying?
is.
Like, there's always a conversation about, there's no like real hip hop out here in no more in the industry. Like, there's tons of real hip hop. There always has been real hip hop, but it's in the same places that it started at, which was in like the little hole in the wall clubs and in
Right.
the counterculture environments where you could go to like really hear somebody being creative. It's just that it might not be getting the same amount of attention from the corporations
Right. Well,
because they don't see, how to make as much money off of it, but it's still there.
I just saw Tank talking about this with R&B, and he was saying that R&B's not dead. And the
Mm-mm.
artists aren't dead. There's great R&B artists around right now. It's just that the topic of the world isn't love right now. And when R&B is big is when the topic of love is number one in your conversation. So, and same with hip hop. Lyrics, I don't feel like until recently have been truly thought of as a major part of the album, or the song. I feel like it was more of a vibe for the last 10 years. They were just going off of whatever vibe they had. They'd go on the top of the head. There was no storytelling. There was a few, but no real storytelling. It was just what's hitting in the club, what's going to get a vibe, what's going to get you repeated, and that was all we got for forever.
But what you just said, that was all we got. That hasn't been all that we've gotten, because the other stuff still exists. Now,
Right.
if we're talking about what exists in front of everybody's face, that's
Right.
pushed by the companies that own all the media platforms and own the outlets,
Right.
then yes, we haven't seen as much of that. Like, I thought it was dope when P Rock and CL Smooth and Grand Poop and all them was getting Sprite commercials.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They had dope lyrics and they were popular at the time.
Right.
So they got the spot. Now what's pop is a whole different thing. And what's pop and being pushed is not necessarily as lyrical as the other stuff. So if the argument is, the major platforms do not have as much artistic content as we would appreciate or we would like to see, that's 100% correct.
because of
But
that-
to say that it's not there, and
Well,
also in this day and age where you can go on Apple Music, you can go on Spotify, you can go on YouTube, and you can find artists that are very talented
Right.
and listen to them. The algorithm might not bop them up, but it's
going
there.
back to not having enough time, I don't know necessarily if my life is conducive to going back and finding independent artists that I've never heard of before, because I don't know how to search for them. Like
You always ask the Google.
Well, but like if I go in and type R&B, and I'm gonna get a bunch of playlists on Spotify pop up, and there might be some playlists with songs that I don't know, but for the most part, they're probably going to pick a bunch of stuff that I've heard before, and so like for me, it's like that's where the DJ is so important for me for music, because I feel like they are the bridge. They were the bridge that allowed us to hear these artists that we weren't necessarily hip to. And because y'all are in the studios walking around before the songs are recorded, y'all are in the movement of what's happening before it gets put out, so you understand what's going to be hip, what's not going to be hip, and you actually are the tastemakers. That was how I grew up on a DJ.
And we were the people that was trusted and tasked with finding that stuff. We loved it so much that we made our whole lives into listening and finding out music. And I'm 100% with you. Like, I don't listen to nothing no more.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, the last time I got to really go down a rabbit hole was during COVID. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, just being up, sitting on the computer and finding some new stuff. And I found so much amazing music and stuff that I'm like, yo, like, I really like this. So that's why I know it's out there.
Right.
But there isn't as much time. And, I think the direction of what you're alluding to is coming up is the gatekeeping. You know what I'm saying? Like, who is responsible for curating our musical taste now? You know what I'm saying?
Because it went from people who loved music, DJs, to corporations.
To the algorithm.
Right.
To the
AI,
algorithm. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, if you like that, you probably like this too.
Right.
Sometimes they're right. You know what I'm saying? A lot
Right.
of times
Right.
they might know us a little bit better than we know ourselves,
Right.
but you know, to have the ability to be introduced to new things. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like me traveling and going on tour with Cash Money and with Wayne and all of that stuff and going to different states, countries, hearing what other folks is listening to and being able to bring that back. Like, for example, like after Katrina, I spent a lot of time just on the road going to all of the places that, New Orleans got blown to. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So we were like in Texas, we were in Georgia, we was all up in Chicago and all these other areas where, people kind of like found some refuge at. So while I'm there bringing New Orleans to them, I'm also absorbing what they're doing like in Chicago, and I'm getting, I'm hooking up with all the Chicago DJs and getting
Right.
music files from there because like
Right.
that was right when Serato started picking up. So I got a hard drive, like let dump all
Right.
that music on here,
Right.
and I'm coming back New Orleans with all the juke remixes,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? And introducing folks here and playing it. And of course, like all the, the college kids from Illinois is like, yo, like, what you know about that or whatever? And they
Right.
having a great time because, you know, I am catering to their interests and introducing folks to this other music that's really dope, that's not that far from what you listen to. Like the
Right.
juke scene in Chicago wasn't that far out from the bounce scene in New
Bouncing.
Orleans, where it's
Right.
like, we're gonna take our tempos and our rhythm and we're gonna apply that to whatever popular song is out, and we're gonna do remixes, all of this stuff, and chop it up. Same thing happening with bounce music, same thing that was going on with go-go in DC.
Right.
So, we just do things differently. So as a DJ, being able to introduce folks to different things that they don't know that they want to hear,
Right.
but they need to hear.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like
100%.
expand y'all palette some, and everybody has kind of gotten into their own little bubble with things.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Where and it's very frustrating because with the new technology, with people being able to kind of curate their own experience, which is fine. Like, have your own right. If you like what you like, go get what it is that you want to get.
Right.
But there's not the same amount of opportunity for everybody to agree on this really is good,
Right.
because people stay in their bubble so much and stick to the algorithm making suggestions to them that people can't really agree on like what's the hit song right now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because what you might be listening to on repeat, person over here has never heard this song
Right.
before because y'all just aren't tuned in
And then I get
to the
they didn't
same
market into
outlets.
that one. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, now like everybody, like I remember on Q93, you could hear Tribe Called Quest, Whitney Houston, and Pimp Daddy all within the same 15 minutes.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You get some New Orleans bounce,
Yep.
you get some hip hop, and you get some amazing R&B all at the same time.
Yep.
Now, if you're listening to a hip hop station, or for those people who still listen to radio, because a lot of people is just streaming and on their own little Spotify playlist,
Right.
all you get is the same type of music after the same type of music after the same type of music, and you don't get a chance to develop an appreciation or even understand how these things could coexist.
Right.
No,
100%.
yeah.
Well, and I mean, everything is matched up. Tempos are matched up. Keys are matched up. Everything is blended so well that sometimes those changes are what created that moment. Like, and I think it makes everybody narrow and pinpointed, and it doesn't allow that open space of creativity, man. It's tough, man. But tell us a little bit about the Cash Money. Going on tour with Cash Money, official DJ for Cash Money.
It was a great time. I was kind of like my homie Wop, rest in peace. He was like the main DJ on the tour. Like I kind of had like my own little special like breakout moment where I come and do my little turntablism tricks and spin around and all of that back spinning. It was very eye-opening. You know what I'm saying? I got a chance to see kind of like behind the scenes of how, music industry stuff works, just the experience of going on tour. Like that is a very large undertaking and machine
Mm-hmm.
to have, I think it was like a 45 city tour with, all of the logistics with the buses and, the stages, going up and coming
Yep.
down every day. And, um, like we were kind of talking about before, we started the interview, like all of the unsexy parts of the industry.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
Every
Like
sound
it's
crew's got their own
yo,
little parts and bits and pieces and their own way of doing things, and everybody's got their own. It is not an easy process.
no, like there's so much behind the scenes that you don't see because people just come when it's like, oh, it's
Mm-hmm.
showtime, and smoke machines and lights and
Mm-hmm.
all the loudspeakers and all of that. But it's just so much that goes on behind the scenes. So like that was a big learning experience for me, and getting to be next to folks that I looked up to, or like I remember seeing speaking to Aaliyah,
Mm-hmm.
saying? Like she just happened to be walking through the back corridor and I was like, oh,
Damn.
hey, what's up? Saying? She was
Right.
like, what's up, dude? Like just random everyday people just
Right.
speaking. Like it wasn't um, you know, not as much of, people having their airs on and all that type of stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, it was great, saying, getting to be in front of like, 25, 30,000 people every night, saying, definitely helped me to mature and shake all of the nerves off. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Because,
Absolutely.
being in front of that many people, like, if you had any type of shyness, like you gotta get rid of that
You
shit
gotta get rid
quick.
of that shit right now. Yeah, no, because it definitely will not allow you in the rooms that you need to be in backstage if you're a little shy.
Yeah.
You gotta act like if you're back there, you're supposed to be back there.
Hmm.
And
Act like,
I
be
feel,
like you belong. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
well, and I feel like nowadays it's a little more uptight than it probably used to be because now everybody's got a camera in their pocket. But back then, if you were backstage, you were probably a little bit more relaxed because there was really nothing that could happen in a sense. Like if you were back there, you were back there.
Yeah, like, Big Brother is watching. You know what I'm saying? It's
Right.
kind of,
Yeah.
when people put a camera in your face, it's definitely, well, at least coming from my era. Now that you have kids growing up that have always had a camera in their face, like
Right.
it's a different
It's a
relationship. You
different
know what I'm saying?
relationship.
Like for
Yeah.
us, when the camera turned on, like it was showtime, you kind of had
Right.
to hold yourself a certain way, like,
Right.
like sit up and
Yep.
be a little bit more mindful of what you say. Now folks, saying they talking crazy on the internet, on camera,
Just not
telling on themselves
right.
all the
Right.
time.
Right. Right.
So
Uh,
it was just a different era, but definitely just getting to see that and making, building new relationships with folks
yeah.
in different cities, and that were from different places,
Right.
and just it was a great time. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if it'll ever be the same again.
No.
Just in the entertainment in period in rap music. Like there were just so many artists that were involved with that tour, from the Rough Riders and Cash Money. Everybody had hits. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Everybody was getting money. Like the folks behind the scenes
We're
was
making
getting
money.
money.
Yep.
It was great. It was
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. No, it was a legit business. Then that's been kind of stolen from us, I feel like.
Hmm.
But what was your experience with DMX?
I mean, the closest I got to DMX for real, like, was his DJ. You know what I'm saying? Like, me and WAP used to hang out with him all the time. I mean, granted, I saw DMX perform and all that type of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And, DMX
He
was
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 one
dope.
of the
Like,
best, right?
just
One of the best performers ever.
just 100% pure emotion.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like
He
when,
lived and breathed his music.
yo, when you talk about having a relationship and making those connections with people in the room, like that's something that he was able to do. Like,
Right.
just his charisma, and it wasn't an act
No.
with him. You know
No.
what I'm saying? Like he was fully committed. So like it was dope getting to see that, but like behind the scenes, all like the Rough Rider cast, like all of them was cool.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like, the Locks, like, like they was dope, like Sheik Luch, like always spoke, like, just very down to earth people. And like LS was so cool. He was like, yo, like if y'all want, I'm getting this after party money, if y'all want to come, get on some of these after parties, like I tell them like, hey, like I got Cash Money's official DJs too. Like, y'all can come get paid if y'all want to ride on my bus. Like it was that type of environment.
That's awesome.
You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it was real cool.
That's awesome. It creates more of a family when you do that. And
Mhm.
everybody's doing the same situation. Everybody's going through the same stuff and having to perform and having to put on that character. But to be able to have a real relationship with family backstage helps the front stage.
Yeah, like there was enough for everybody to eat. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Like
yeah.
there was money on the table, you know, and what one person was getting didn't necessarily affect
When you're
what
selling a
somebody
CD
else
for
was getting.
$17,
Yo,
you're making money.
that was, you know, when folks talk about like streaming and like the fractions of a penny that you get off of, you know, somebody listen to your music, as opposed to back in the day when people had to buy a CD and buy a record, you know, and everything was so tangible. And I think also too, like when we talk about the experience and relationships between the consumers and the DJs and the artists, like there was an investment
Yeah, if
that
I
was
paid
made
$17 for this, it better be fucking
into
good.
the art. Like, yeah,
Right.
like, you know, like I'm committed, like I'm spending my heart, like I could be eating right now,
Right.
or I can go buy this, you know, this album.
Right.
And, you know, you were physically connected to it, like you owned a
Right.
piece of their creativity.
Right.
You know, and now, you know, it's like nobody owns anything. You know what I'm saying? Like everything is subscribed to or is rented. Like there's no real sense of ownership. So I find today like people are very cavalier with their experiences.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
100%.
You know, because it didn't cost me anything to listen to this song, I don't have to listen through the whole project. Like
Right.
I'm not even gonna give the artist that much respect
Or time, yep.
to go down and listen to everything. Like, you know, there weren't, you know, like there were a lot of albums back in the day where, you know, you could listen on it from start to finish. But, you know, even back then, people had some throwaways on the album, but at least you gave it a try.
Right.
You know, it wasn't like, oh, I'm 15 seconds into the song, I don't really like this beat, skip.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right,
like, look,
right.
you gonna let it play. Now
Right.
you might, you know, after you listen to it a couple times, you might have like 3 or 4 songs that, you know, you go back to all of the time. But, you know, you've committed your resources and your time to this artistry, so there was just a different reverence for it that I think, you know, part of it has been lost, and again, like that translates into the events and the parties, because, you know, even the events have become bite-sized, and it's not about the community or the environment. You know, you know, we're going to go here to make our own content. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's on their phones and, you know, trying to post on, you know, TikTok and Instagram. And
well, I feel like it also makes it harder for an artist to connect with the end user too, because as an artist, I got to do something so creative to catch your attention, because it's like I'm not giving you my attention until you've sparked something now, because I'm not paying for anything. So I'm just scrolling. Oh, I like that.
I think the same rules still apply, because if you look at the artists, like take Kendrick Lamar right now, you know what I'm saying? Arguably he's on top of the world.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? A lot of his albums have been kind of concept albums, which have had a lot of thought
still should
put
be Wayne
into
in the
them.
Super Bowl. But
you know what I'm saying? You know, like being very lyrical.
Yes. Yes.
You know, like Mr. Morale, like was a very thought out album. It might not have gotten, you know, like people be like, that's his worst album because it didn't necessarily have any like quote unquote like hits on it. But all of that laid the groundwork to further connect with his audience.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You can get online and do something silly and get your views up, but that doesn't necessarily get people to buy into what it is that you're doing. Not even buy a ticket, buy into you as an artist and believe what it is that you're doing.
Right.
Like folks have to appreciate and really believe you. Like the real core
be a backstory.
Fans. You know what I'm saying?
It's gonna be a backstory.
It's all of that. Like, you know, like when we think about stuff that we grew up with, like the stories that we grew up with, you know what I'm saying, you know, from movies and television and the TV shows, and like, you know, like the toys we came up with, like Transformers, like was big. You know, like I remember Transformers first came out, like the mythology of the Transformers, like I bought into that to where, you know, now I'm sitting down with my kids watching Transformers, and I'm like, you know, I am enjoying it maybe more than them because I'm getting a lot of the references that's being made to the older stuff.
Right.
So, you know, as a creative, as a rapper, even as a DJ, getting folks to believe in me and trust me to take them on this musical journey for whatever amount of time it is that we might have. Um, I feel like for artists to really have that longevity, the ones that have been able to exist for longer than a decade and have people ride with them, um, it hasn't been because they're trying to chase a quick little attention. Not like, jumping like, hey, look at me, look at me, look at me.
Right.
It's like, you know, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing at a very high level. And as people start, really paying attention, like, you kind of have to do it in a way that makes them turn down the other stuff that's going on and really focusing on what it is that you're
Right.
doing.
And go back and listen to all the stuff that they didn't catch before.
Man, look, like Wayne is still dropping verses like the what the Wayne he just dropped the verse on Benny the Butcher
Mm-hmm.
project,
Mm-hmm.
with like all the like the dog references and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had to listen to that like 4 or 5 times,
Right.
and I'm still like I still know I missed something in there, but like it's a phenomenal verse,
Right.
which is like 30 years after Wayne's first like phenomenal
No
verse.
verse,
Like,
right.
when you can continue to operate at a very high level and you have the patience to wait for the success to come, you can establish that and you can maintain it. The
Right.
folks that, and we've seen the story throughout the history of the music industry, like one-hit wonders.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
when there's no foundation, the house crumbles.
There you go. So running behind attention and doing things for the attention and not doing things because they're communicating your vision. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like that takes time to find that audience and that tribe that really understands your vision, that, you become their spokesman because they say, you
Right.
know what? I feel like you feel. You know what I'm saying? You're saying some things that resonate with me. So I'm gonna let you be my spokesman.
Right.
And that's how, like Young Jeezy's success. Like he was the D-boy Superman.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? He was speaking for a whole lot of people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, as an artist, as a creative, being able to channel your own voice, speak honestly about it, in a way that's, entertaining, you can have that success. You just have to be patient with it.
Patient. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's anything that is quick to come doesn't last.
Quick to go. Yeah.
Let's talk about Jazz Fest a little bit.
Mhm.
How did that all start to play? I mean, I know you kind of started playing early on Jazz Fest, right? You've been doing it
Yeah,
for a
the
while.
first time we got on Jazz Fest was my sophomore year in high school. And it was definitely like nepotism because my dad was dating Allison Miner, who at the time, like, she was the manager for like Rebirth Brass Band, and she had a stage at the festival that she ran. So, she's around all the time. We coming in, like, hey, listen to our little songs that we made in the
Mhm.
closet, in the bedroom. And she was like, hey, like, I can give y'all the opportunity to, come and, y'all can perform and talk about what it is that y'all are doing. And, that was a catalyst for a lot of different things. Like,
Right.
that was the first time, because of that, up to that point, everything we had done was in the bedroom. So we can't perform at the Jazz Fest with these bedroom tracks. So we had to, like, spend some money and go in like an actual studio. So like that was the first time, like, of us paying for studio time and, producing stuff in the studio and actually putting our tracks down and all of that type of stuff. So like that was my first, getting to be next to a keyboard. They had a EPS 16 plus, which was kind of like one of the precursors to the ASR 10, which is like
Right.
one of the most famous hip hop keyboards ever.
Ever,
So this
right.
was like, the even before that, you know what I'm
Right.
saying? It was like 92. And like our whole check that we got from performing, we had to go sign over to the studio because like everything we made, we spent on being actually able to perform there. So, and I think for me, that was my first introduction as far as like on the management side of stuff.
Gotcha.
Because, I was handling all the advanced stuff and the logistics and, getting the tickets and the parking passes and coordinating with everybody in my crew at the time, how we gonna get there and is what time all these things gotta happen. So
Learning how many little things go into it. Yeah.
like just making it happen.
Right.
So like that really kind of introduced me to that part.
Right.
And then, definitely up until that point, like that was like the biggest stage we had been on. It was still like a smaller stage at Jazz Fest, but
Right.
that was that might have been our first paid show. That might have been my first paid gig because I feel like I had DJ'd some gigs before that. But like first paid show, of us doing our own
That's
material,
pretty crazy.
that was the first time we did that.
It's a
So,
way to get thrown in the deep end a little
you
bit, you
know,
know?
it was cool to like, at no time did I feel like we was drowning. You know what I'm saying? But it was like really cool. And then, like after that, we were able to get on Congo Square the following year, which, like that's the stage that, everybody's trying to get on. Especially, if you're from New Orleans, you rap, Congo Square, that's the Jazz Fest stage that you end up getting on. So,
Right.
being able to elevate to that, at 16, and we was out there with our little, Bugs and Taz, backwards closed shirts on. You know what I'm saying? Like that was that era.
Right.
Cross colors and all of that.
Yeah.
So, but now like it was dope. So like Jazz Fest has such a important role
It's
in the New
heritage
Orleans
here,
music
man. It's
scene.
so
Period. Like,
yeah.
And my dad, I think my mom too, maybe they was on the board for Jazz and Heritage Fest, like back in like the early days when, it was first getting started, and they would always tell about, I caught a contact high out there when I was like 4 or 5 years old. You know what I'm saying? Because it was a lot more laid back back then. Folks would be on their little, blankets, saying, just picnicked out, and
Right.
Somebody was out there smoking, and I ended up catching a couple whiffs of it. But now like Jazz Fest is a big driver for New Orleans artists, just of all genres. You know what I'm saying? Getting that stage, getting that opportunity, that experience, getting paid for it. You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Like that's a big thing to be able to put on the resume. And then
I always think Jazz Fest is a reminder to New Orleans every year about how much we've been a part of music history. Because every year that I go, I'm reminded of just how big of a role we played,
mhm.
in music, across all genres. I feel like.
Now, I mean, New Orleans has been a sanctuary for great American music, period.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Us being a port city, one of the entertainment capitals
Well, we started
of
as
the
pirates.
world.
We all,
Like,
we wanted to have fun, and
everything came through
Yeah.
here. You know what I'm saying? And what was created here, from the African traditions and in the Caribbean and all of that kind of coming together, and those rhythms and history and heritage and all of that being melded into New Orleans jazz music and brass band music, second line, like even the funk music that was birthed here in New Orleans, you know what I'm saying, through like the Meters and Allen Toussaint and all of that, and how that got into the DNA of hip hop. Like how people don't really realize how many like early like hip hop songs and hits have samples
from that era,
New
yeah.
Orleans
Yep.
artists.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And I didn't even know at the time, I'm young listening to LL Cool J. Like, I don't know that, the sample that he has on his record comes from New Orleans.
I've sampled
You know what I'm
Little
saying?
Richard in one of my hip hop records.
Like, yo, like it's so much that has gotten into the DNA of just world music that's coming from America that has the DNA of New Orleans in it. It's undeniable once you
Yeah.
start tracing all of that.
Well, we
back.
really were a melting pot. We have French, Spanish, Caribbean, the Native
African,
Americans, the African Americans. When you combine all of the cultures that we've had in a short amount of time span, we really got a lot of different dynamics to our culture.
Yeah.
Which creates great music, great food, great experiences, if you ask me, because I mean, we've all had to come together, and we have that same spirit when people come from out of town,
Mhm. It's very welcoming. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
absolutely.
Like, it's always funny, like, cats from New York will come down here and, nobody speaks to each other in New York. Like
Mhm.
everybody keeps their head down and
Mhm.
just go about your business. And in New Orleans, like everybody speaks. Like,
Mhm.
everybody is treated like family and welcomed,
Yep.
you know.
No, when I first moved to LA, I was in LA 9 years, and when I first moved out there, I was single, and I would just go, like, watch the football game at the bar. I'd sit at the bar and drink and just start talking to people, and everybody look at me like I'm the weird
Like, what's
uncle,
wrong with
right,
you?
at the party, like, "What's wrong? Like, why are you talking to me right now?" Like, "Well, I'm just be by myself, like, what's up?" You know? Like, and it just yeah, and you really learn, I feel like when you travel around, you really learn how special this place truly is,
Hmm.
and why, I don't ever feel like my heart will ever leave New Orleans wherever I'm at, no matter what. But it's a special place. But tell me a little bit about Stevie Wonder. Tell me a little bit about that collab.
It was like that was something completely spur of the moment. It was at Urban League National Conference was here in the city, and I guess Stevie had like performed at another event for them like earlier in the evening, and there was the after party was at Metro, and I'm just here doing what I do, like I'm
Mhm.
rocking or whatever, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, like Stevie Wonder's coming, what I'm saying? He was like on a little section over in the corner, and I'm like, oh shit, it's Stevie Wonder, what I'm saying? So
You didn't wave at him, did you?
man, y'all don't trip. I think Stevie got them Geordie LaForge like little glasses up under there. He knows what's going on. Um, but one of Stevie's people came over and was like, "Hey, Stevie wants to know if you could play They Reminisce Over You by Pete Rock." I'm like, "Yeah." Like that's like one of my favorite hip hop songs ever. And like
Right.
Stevie Wonder is requesting that song like right now. And we were already like everybody who came to that party was ready to go. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
sometimes you got to warm an audience up and get the
Right.
crowd into it. Like they came in and, they were like, yo, like, it's go time. Like,
Right.
let's do it. And I was playing like all types of, music. Like, you know, there was a very wide demographic that was in the audience. So, I was playing like old school stuff, some
Right.
new school stuff, and like everybody was jamming and everything. So, I dropped They Reminisce Over You, and like, folks got their hands in the air because again, like it's an age group that comes from the time of sitting down and appreciating
Right.
and listening to music.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Nothing was disposable, no microwave stuff.
But
Like,
there was
yo,
a
like
moment in
we
time they listen to
really,
that song and they wanna relive it every time they hear it.
yo, and it came on like everybody's down, like, yeah, like this is gonna be a because mind you, like we were still like early on in the part, like it was like first quarter still,
Right.
and everybody's jamming. So I think because of just the energy and the vibe in the room and the engagement from everybody that was there and was having such a great time, and Stevie could see it. uh I know he definitely heard it, you know what I'm saying? But his folks came back over and he's like, hey, Stevie wants to know if you got some beats. I'm like, yeah, I got some beats. He was like, is it cool if he gets on a microphone? Like, yo, like what you for real? Like you gonna ask me that?
Right,
Like
hand him the
come
damn
on.
microphone, right.
So, they kind of like let him over, and it was a little dark in there. And he definitely kind of like, I don't want to say he snuck on stage,
Mhm.
but there wasn't like a big to do about it. Like, sometimes people are like, oh, we got Stevie Wonder coming to the stage and
Right.
about the girls with the
Right,
lights.
right.
It wasn't all that. Like he just kind of like just made his way over there, and we gave him the mic. And I think I dropped Houdini Friends. You know what I'm saying? Because again, like, he wants some beats. Friends is a classic.
Right.
I feel like everybody knows. So like I dropped it. I had an instrumental, and he just kind of like started singing, ooh, or like just harmonizing over the
Mhm.
top of it. And nobody really knew what was going on. But folks kind of like started turning around, like what's happening over there. And then by the time he really started getting into it and was actually about to start singing his song, I had dropped the funky drummer on, and like just everything like exploded. By that point, everybody had their phones out and was recording it, and we rocking, and I'm like, man, I gotta put that beat on. You know what I'm saying? Like this is just I gotta put Cameron Paul Brown beat on right now. Like that has to go right now. And I dropped it, and just everybody lost their shit. You know what I'm saying? And then every 4 to 6 months, it just starts circulating again. Like, oh, Stevie Wonder singing on a bounce beat and all this other type of stuff. And it was just an amazing experience, and it's one of them things where, folks say like, I've been preparing my whole life for this moment.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Because all the events I had been doing and, having to do stuff spur of the moment and just being from that old school DJ lineage of, where it's a DJ and MC and the DJ is just throwing on beats and, backspinning and making it happen. So when the moment presented itself, I was ready.
Right.
And, it looks like it's going down in history.
Yeah, right? Well, I mean, Stevie's voice is just so undeniable and just amazing, just and to put him on a bounce beat, it just makes so much sense in an overall music artistic, thought
Well,
process.
what's interesting is one of the first tracks I know the first track I ever produced had a Stevie Wonder sample in it. We had took the little piano thing from Hey Love, doom, da doom, 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 doom,
Full
doom,
circle
Hey Love.
moment.
Like,
Uh-huh.
like the first song I ever produced
Uh-huh.
had a Stevie Wonder sample on it. And then, coming to that moment, like I get to do something with Stevie Wonder. And it was just such a unique moment because who's going to think Stevie Wonder is going to be, rapping with a DJ? Like, how does that happen? You know what I'm saying?
Those full circle moments in music are just beautiful. I mean, I had a little bit of a similar full circle moment myself. My first live show that I did in LA that I promoted had the Dog Pound on it,
Hmm.
and uh, my first, I guess, cassette tape that I bought that was hip hop was Warren G. Regulate. So to like have to go move out to LA and then do my first show and have him on it, I was like, so yeah, full circle moment, man. Like
No, it's dope. Like being able to have a long career and to have those type of experiences.
yeah,
You know what I'm saying? To, seeing things from the other side of the fence. And then once you get back there and it's like, yo, like I'm here. Like this is what I wanted to do.
right,
And I always wondered what it was like to be back here and now I'm back here.
right,
You know, and also realizing at that point, like, nobody is really that much different. Like we're all still doing
human.
the same thing.
Yep,
Like, we have goals and dreams and careers and goals that we're trying to attain. And the folks that are on the stage under the lights are doing the same thing
yep,
that you're trying to do and have the same, issues and interests and problems. You know what I'm
yep,
saying? Like they go
yep.
through the same type of stuff.
And if anything, they look at being authentic as a rare breed because they get less and less of it. So like I feel like that's what honestly keeps you in the rooms.
Yeah. Act like
Like
you belong
act
there.
like you belong. Like I've been in the room with Snoop probably a dozen times. I ain't take one picture.
Yeah. That's the
Like
worst thing you could do.
I mean, yeah,
Because
100%.
if you want to make people feel like you're not supposed to be there, try to take a
Take a
picture. Because
picture.
now you're a fan,
Yep,
and this is not fan space. You know
yep,
what I'm saying? If you want to be a fan, you can go to the meet and greet. Like this is
yep,
for the folks that are supposed to be here.
yep,
You
100%.
know.
And if you ever want to be in that room again, you got to act like you deserve to be there. And they should have pictures of you, not you of them.
Hmm.
And those type of situations. But yeah, it's I don't know, man. I love where music is heading now. I haven't liked it over the last probably 5-10 years as like the path of music that it took. I feel like we're on a path now that creativity is coming back. The independent artists are overshadowing the majors because the majors are losing their grip on the fans,
Hmm.
and I feel like we're almost back to having a product with music.
I mean,
Uh, I,
I'm gonna always push back on that because again, the independents have always been there. That creativity has been there. It's just that what we have been too lazy to
as fans to get
as
into,
fans to
yeah,
look beneath the
right,
surface and just like they keep feeding us this crap that we don't want. the other stuff is there. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes as a creative, you got to go and grow it yourself. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But it's there. You know what I'm saying? So it's like when for as far as New Orleans is concerned, you know what I'm saying? New Orleans is, I would think, mostly a gangster rap market. You know what I'm saying? But you have artists like Alfred Banks
Right.
who are here, who is a phenomenal lyricist. He does great material. Um, you know, I feel like he should be getting more shine. You know what
Right.
I'm saying? He's been having success and he's been very patient. Me and him have had a lot of conversations, and he's been doing like this. You know what I'm saying? I think eventually it's gonna go way up for him. But the artist is there. If you listen to Q93, you're not gonna
You're not
find
gonna
him.
find it.
If you look on the typical New Orleans urban blogosphere,
Mhm.
you might not see him. But he's touring.
Right.
He's on those stages. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's collaborating with folks. He's making good music. So again, the music is there. I don't want people to get fooled into the typical narrative that is told that, it ain't no real hip hop. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
no. So for me, I know the artists are there, but for me, the artist development from the labels isn't there. So the artists that they put out aren't necessarily developed artists ready to get put out.
100%.
So there's back to the storytelling. There's no story in the backlogs for me to want to have this person represent me as my voice.
From what's coming from the from the labels.
Correct.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, hip hop, just music in general, like, once Napster hit, everything kind of got democratized.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, Soulja Boy paved the way for,
Ringtones.
I'm going to do what I want to do,
Right.
my own music, and I'm going to put it out there. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, tricking people on LimeWire.
Right.
And all that. Like,
Right.
The independents have always, I feel like, kind of pushed the envelope on stuff. Like Cash Money was an independent movement.
Right.
3 6 Mafia, like, that was an independent movement. Like,
Yeah.
rap a lot, you know what I'm saying, was an independent movement. I was watching this on the Math Hoffa podcast, and he was talking to Large Professor, and he was talking about, like, even as artists, they were under the mindset at the time, like, in order for me to be official and real, I have to go get this label deal.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Not thinking about, if they took their money that they made and just go do their own thing,
Right.
But it was harder for them at the time because, you had to have a lot more brick and mortar
You had gatekeepers
in order to make the music.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But now, a laptop or an iPad, you could make something dope. You know what I'm saying? Like Ninth Wonder, using Fruity Loops. Like, you could use Fruity Loops on your cell phone.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, there's not a lot to stop somebody with a clear vision and a story to tell from producing something that they can turn into a commodity.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, like, I agree with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to be very
no.
argumentative about it, but, like, people say things like that all the time, and as they say it, they hear it and they believe it, and other people say it, and it's again, the conversation about it is a little bit more nuanced.
No, 100%.
So
and as soon as you say it, you should feel lazy because there is so much music out there to go listen to. But
if right now everybody went that and listened to Alfred Banks and his number skyrocketed, his price would go up tomorrow.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You would have, labels throwing money at him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you have all of these influencers who don't have any talent other than their charisma, which in and of itself is a talent. You know what I'm saying? But when we speak about music and being a creative and folks that are living off of pure personality, and because their YouTube channels are doing numbers and all of their TikToks are being reshared, even though the message and the content in that is really nothing more than like, hey, pay attention to me, I can keep you entertained for a short amount of time. that's where the money gets thrown because that's where the attention is. As soon as we
100%.
change our attention to things, as long as we just keep consuming blindly what it is that they're giving us, nothing is
The
going to
wheel will
change.
keep going,
You know what I'm
yeah.
saying?
But artists gotta understand that labels are just marketing companies, and
That's it.
if they go out and hire their own marketing company, they can do just as
Yo, like,
much.
isn't
Yeah.
that what Macklemore did?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
he paid Atlantic
Russ.
for, their promotion and record label
Yep.
stuff and did all this stuff. And that's possible now because, people have the ability, like if you can afford and have the wherewithal, go get you a day job,
Yep.
get you a computer, which, laptops are pretty ubiquitous now.
Right.
You have the technology, the same thing that you're using to consume all of this mindless product that you might not like, you can use to create something that you
Indifferent.
might
Yep.
like. If you feel like, people are online are not representing your views, you could take that same iPhone that you're watching it on,
And go make your
turn
own
it
view.
around,
Yep.
and make a podcast and say something real that's going to resonate with people. And, now you have become a voice because, maybe the other people just didn't have it in them to turn the phone around.
Right,
You know what I'm saying?
right.
You're the person that did it,
Right.
like even with this podcast, like you had to say to yourself, you know what? I have some interest in some things that I want to bring out to the rest of the world that I'm not seeing.
Right.
Like there's a gap there that's not satisfying something that I want to see.
Yeah, well,
so I'm going to create what it is.
100%. Well, for me, I needed to give Elation a face. That was part of the biggest thing, is I needed to let everybody know what and who started Elation, and give it a character to where it was not just an entity that was floating around. You know what I mean? So I felt like, and plus, I feel like in New Orleans, there's a little bit of a gap for space like this for artists such as yourself to speak on a platform and give a story.
Like
And
we need all of that. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, and
Yeah.
even beyond you just being a person that's a voice for, these other groups, like you're giving folks a voice. Like, a couple of my other artists have been on here to talk
Right.
about stuff like how Sizzle and 504 Icy
Right.
Girl have been here talking about, like their perspectives and their views. And like, you helping to create a platform for other folks to be able to, get their ideas and what they're doing out into the world. Like it's that type of initiative that we need more of in the technology. The same gift and the curse. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like the same thing
Yep.
that has, dumbed us down for lack of a better term,
Yep.
or made us lazy. Like, I mean, even I find myself getting trapped on doom scroll. And it's like, yo, like, what am I doing? Like,
Right,
let me-
right, right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, let me
Right.
get back to doing
Yeah,
some work
brain
right
rot's
now.
what they call it now, right? Yeah.
But
Yeah.
being able to take that and do something else with it and be creative, the tools are there. You know what I'm saying? The artists are there. The creativity is there. Like I don't know how much you be on YouTube. I mean, everybody's on YouTube now. But what's the little dude, Kane Pixels, who had like the little back room thing?
Oh,
You know what I'm saying?
right,
Like,
right,
yo,
right,
like
right, right.
that was the most low budget,
Yep.
high engagement. Like I'm watching it, like, yo, like I'm creeped out trying to see, like, you know what I'm saying? Like
Right.
watching this story, like, yo, like this
Right.
is amazing.
Right.
And all it costs is time and some vision.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? Like we got the tools to do it. So
It's about having the mindset and actually taking the leap.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I don't want people to trick themselves into believing that they need validations of the other folks that have done it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because the folks that built those companies and those labels
Had no validation of
started
anything.
somewhere. Like
Yep.
nobody validated them. They was like, hey,
Yep.
I want to do something. Let me make this happen. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And eventually, it gets into a situation where, corporations are people.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And, it's very easy for a company to lose its, soul, quote unquote, when the people who are running it don't have that love.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, for me as a DJ, like I still have love for music. Like I
Right.
still have love for my audience, and I have love for the interaction and the experience. You know what I'm saying? Like, even sitting down in the conversation, like I have love for that type of environment,
Right.
as opposed to I'm just looking at numbers on a piece of paper
Yeah.
and like, oh, this number is going up, so let's throw some more money at that.
Right.
This person, their second album didn't sell as much as their first album did, um, even though they might have needed the second album as part of their journey to mature to do something greater. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But if you're just looking at the numbers and then, if we cut that off because it didn't perform like we thought that it should have,
Right.
this person might have went on to be the greatest,
100%.
performer ever.
Well, Linkin Park Reanimation was one of those for
Yo.
me. One of the best albums ever. And it's not anywhere talked about on anywhere.
Yo, I was just watching some stuff about them yesterday because, they just got their new lead singer.
Yeah, the new
and it's
chick.
like, yo, like, I feel this.
I feel rock
It's-
is back. I feel rock's on its way back, which, by the way, Elation just became a part of a new rock band called More October.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So we're excited that we're going to start recording soon.
That's what's up.
But I feel like rock's on its way back. In the cycle of music, as country comes first and rock's always afterwards, because country gets people excited about bands and people back on stage and real live music, and then out of that has to come some energy, which is always rock at the top of that. So I feel like we're in that cycle coming back. But
It's and just because like I went to the Justin Timberlake concert a couple weeks ago, like the amount of technology, that went into that show to create that experience, like I was sitting there the whole time, like, my wife is like, huge Justin Timberlake
Right.
fan, like, but I'm sitting there like looking like how did they get these screens to do this? You know what I'm saying? And the lights behind the screen. So it's like after like I'm looking up like, like how do you get the translucent, LED screens?
Right.
Like, because it's just, again, like seeing what other people are doing and trying to figure out a way to, put your own thumbprint on it
Yep.
and, take it to
Another
a
level.
different level.
Yeah.
So like, just genre music wise, I understand what you're saying. Like, as one thing starts to take a hold, it allows leverage for something else to kind of come up. But there's so many outlets through, all of this technology now, and there's so many different things that you can do with it. Like sky's the limit. Like you could really kind of like start anywhere and make your way. If you got the eye for it, the creativity, and again, like if you had a patience, like,
Right.
if you really want it, it's not going to come quick. You want it to take a while so that you can have it for a long time.
Yeah. No, 100%. 100%. Well, let's talk a little bit about the Saints.
Word.
How did that come to, and what's it like to be the official game day DJ?
So, I really kind of like got on because I wanted to DJ for the Hornets. You know what I'm saying? Like when, before the Pels, before the Pels was the Pels, and it was the Hornets, I was like, yo, like they need to have a DJ at the games. You know what I'm saying? Because like my homie Irie in Florida.
Yeah,
he
DJ
DJs,
Irie. I know Irie.
Yeah, like he DJs for the Heat.
He's awesome. I love Irie. Yeah. What a great guy. What a great guy. Yeah.
Charisma through the roof. You know what I'm saying? And he loves what he does.
Yeah.
So
I know Irie and Effect and all those guys.
Yo, it's funny, like I forgot what conference it was, but he was in town and we was at House of Blues and we was outside chilling. He was like, Raj, like it was blowing his mind that people was just on the street, open container, just drinking. He was like, yo, like this is wild. That's my guy. Shout out Irie.
Yeah.
But so I DJ'd main stage at Essence in 2017. And while I was there, I found out that the people who were running the production for Essence were the same folks that did the production for the Saints and the Pels.
Gotcha.
So at our first little production meeting run through, I was like, yo, like, who do I have to kidnap to DJ inside the arena for the games? Cause like DJing for the Saints wasn't even like on our radar. You know what I'm saying? It was like, like NBA basketball, like that's where the hip hop lives at.
Right.
That's where it could really like flourish at. And I had done some stuff outside for the Pels, but I finally had a chance to like be face to face with the people who actually ran it. So I'm like, who do I have to kidnap? You know what I'm saying, to make this happen? And they were like, yo, like after, we get over on Essence stuff, we'll talk. And it was like straight, they were like, look, there's probably a better chance of getting you in at the Saints before the Pels. You know what I'm saying? Because, the Pels, the way they were running it and all of this stuff, you know what I'm saying, for folks that don't know, like professional sports is a production.
Right.
Like, is nothing in there, and I don't want this to be taken out of context. I'm gonna say, like, there's nothing in it that's not scripted. It's not like, oh,
Right.
the Saints are gonna win the day or the Bills are gonna win the day.
Right.
I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about like all of the breaks, all of the ad commercials,
Right.
all of the, entertainment acts that have to come out. Like, there was a timeline, there was a production schedule, like there was a whole script with, who has to be here,
It's a
what
line
videos
sheet.
are getting
Yep.
run. Like, yo, like it's a for real like stage production.
Mhm.
Everything that goes on with the lights, the audio. So
Live TV, you can't screw around.
yo, for real, for real. So getting into that is not like, like Manny Fresh DJ for one of the Saints game one time. They was like, oh, we want to bring Manny in to DJ at one of the games. And afterwards he was like, Raj, like, this is what you have to do like every game. Cause until you've done it, like, you don't really realize like how scripted everything is on.
Right.
So, but not to get too sidetracked. So yeah, so we started talking about the Saints, and it was like, we could probably bring you in for like the little pregame for the Saints because the higher ups have not really been in the mindset of entertaining, like having a DJ there. And I think one time before for the Saints, they did have a DJ, but they might have played some explicit versions of some stuff, and like, yo, this is a very family friendly environment.
Event, right.
So that kind of left a bad taste in their mouth. But they gave it a shot, brought me in, and it was dope. You know what I'm saying? Like, definitely brought some more energy to it, like that they were looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been going up. So like, it's been a slow process again, patience, because that would have been the 2017, 2018 season. But it was still pushing like, yo, like, what's up with the Pels? You know what I'm saying? Like, can we get into the arena?
Right.
And I don't remember what it might have been right after COVID, 2021, 2020, somewhere up in there. But I think we were into the playoffs, or it was we had a playing game, and they were like, yo, we want to bring you in to do the playing game. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I got to do the Pels game, and that turned out really great. You know what I'm saying? So now, they have a actual DJ for the Pels game. It's not me, but it's cool. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Antwiggity. You know what I'm saying? He does his thing in the games. Also, shout out to DJ Jess, because she was doing it first. So, but again, like, the doors have begun to open, and I look at that too as a part of like my legacy. Like, it's not just for me. You know what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely.
I love to do it, but the fact
you started
that
the conversation.
I was able to go in there and
spark the idea,
do proof of concept.
Right.
So it's like, yo, like, if we have a DJ in here, it can bring the energy up, and it can give us a different look for what we want to do to add to the entertainment. So, it does hurt a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
But hey, listen, you sparked the conversation.
It's like, everything is not for me.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And, I have my own lane and what it is that I do, and I've had my own accomplishments. So, somebody else everybody has to have their own thing. So, I'm happy that I was able to contribute. And sometimes, they call me in once and again if somebody can't make it or whatever, like if Aunt Twiggy is out of town, or I think Jess was sick one time, and like they brought me in to come do it. So, it's cool. Like, I'm still relevant.
You're the bigger guest DJ.
I'm still relevant after 30 plus years. Hey, like, I'm still out here. So like,
you can't ask for much more, right?
Yo, I appreciate it. Like, I'm honored. I'm humbled by it. And, I try to repay that kindness by continually like giving my all. And, like, when I come in, like, I don't care if there's 10 people in the room, if there's 1,000 people in the room,
I'm playing.
Like, I'm gonna do my thing.
Right. 100%. 100%. Well, while we're on that humble thought of, of being happy and still existing in this industry, what brings elation to you in your life? Because, I define elation as peak happiness.
I'm at the age now, like, like I'm a born family man. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Not that I was, ever like super edgy with stuff, but, being able to sit at home, with the wife and kids, and, see them grow up and create those experiences for them and be there. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Because like I remember for me as a child, you know, when everything was fresh and everything was new. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So, as legacy to be able to pass that on and, to pass that joy onto them. You know what I'm saying? Um, and like after that, being able to pass that joy on to the world at large. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, you know, to the audiences that I'm in front of that I don't know what they went through in their day or what they're going through in their life. It might be up for them right now, like they might be down.
Right.
But in this little window that we're together, we're gonna have a good time.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I am going to pass on some of my joy and elation on to you. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So being able to be, at wedding receptions, like this is one of the most special times in people's lives, and like I get to be a part of that. Like I'm a
Right.
part of this memory. I have like it's either an anniversary party or a birthday party or something this weekend, but like to be a part of that, like just being honored that folks would ask me to provide the soundtrack for these special moments.
Right.
Like that's amazing to me. Like, you know, that's really a lot of, I won't say it's a lot of pressure, but like you're really asking a lot of somebody
There's a lot of
to
power.
to help to contribute to this moment that I could potentially cherish for the rest of my life. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like I don't take that lightly. So like it makes me happy to be able to bring that happiness to other people, and then, from that, other folks that are kind of like in my path on my trajectory, in the DJ world. You know what I'm saying? Like passing on the information and the knowledge that, I was given or like I had to learn firsthand, to help give them a leg up. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like I can't do this forever. And like
Right.
there's gonna have to be people after me, you know,
To
I want to
continue
see
this.
them
Yep.
go farther than I went,
Right.
and have the successes that, I wasn't able to have. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't have the opportunity to be the in-game DJ for
Right.
the Pels in the arena. But, I was able to pass on and create the opportunity for somebody else to be able to do that.
Right.
Like that makes me happy.
Right. Absolutely. Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, it's great power and great
Responsibility.
right? And those moments in time are what people remember. So to be able to give them the soundtrack, I understand, man. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, great, man. Well, thanks for coming today,
I
man.
appreciate y'all having me.
Absolutely appreciate the conversation, and I feel like people can learn a lot from just listening to your story. So I thank you guys for joining us today, and please like, subscribe, and watch for more. And why don't you tell everybody your socials?
I'll just give you some data.
Yeah,
I
we do that.
I
We'll do
appreciate
that
the
right now.
platform.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely.
Y'all can find me pretty much at Raj Smoove everywhere. RajSmoove. I'm not hard to find. I have a pretty unique DJ name. So yeah, if you look me up, you're gonna find me.
Awesome,
Yeah,
awesome,
I'm
great.
everywhere.
Well, thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for joining us.